Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Baka podcast.
Baka. It's amazing how every time you open your mouth, you prove you're an idiot.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an anime podcast that fills all your hopes and dreams. If your hopes and dreams are listening to three Bakas talk about anime, and after watching it over 2 weeks and theorizing, going over characters, that's what this podcast is all about. And if those are your dreams and wishes, you might need to aim higher. I'm not judging, but come on. Thank you for listening. We are talking tonight about the anime The Seven Deadly Sins, which is currently airing on Netflix. Everyone's eagerly awaiting season 2 to show up, but it has already aired in Japan. A 4-episode extra thing has recently been put on there. We wanted to go back and rewatch season 1. We watched the first 12 episodes. To talk about it, I need the help of my co-host. So first off, we have the envy to my Colonel Hughes. Jeremy.
Who's Colonel Hughes?
Are you serious?
Full Metal Alchemist.
Oh, yeah. See, I'm
Lost all respect
huge.
for you.
I know, there goes my anime cred, if I ever had any.
Fair enough.
Big spoiler for Full Metal Alchemist, but everyone should know this by now. Envy's the one who kills Colonel Hughes, so that's why you get to be Envy.
See, and here I assumed Envy was reference to Diane, which, because she's my favorite character.
Well, I am referencing other Sin characters in another anime.
Okay.
It is all
So deep.
I think these things ahead like 5 minutes before we record.
That's ahead.
Wow, you gave it 5 minutes this time?
Yeah.
It's not a mini-sode, guys. It's just a regular episode. I do that. Jeremy, how are you?
I'm doing good. I've been watching a lot of Game of Thrones. Tanya is doing Game of Thrones binge, and we're all the way up to season 6 now, and
Ooh.
Yeah, you're past the books. You're in.
I'm in uncharted territory for me. Yeah, and I'm really enjoying it. Wow, that's such good emotional storytelling.
So one complaint people have about later seasons is that the travel turns into like fast travel, like in a video game. No one's walking the path from one city to another for a whole season like they used to. It's just, hey, I need to go to the city. 2 scenes later, they're in that city, and everyone's like, wait, that's on the other side of the country. And they have to do it for storytelling and pacing, but like a lot of time is passing now in a single episode because of that.
Yeah.
Is it bothering you? I've been wondering about that for a long time.
The travel has a little bit bugged me, but just overall, I've kind of had to give the series a pass for the passage of time. It seemed to me that people are growing up too fast. I mean, just the age of King Tormund. Or Tolman, I never know exactly how to say it, right? He's a little kid in the books. Little kid with his little cat. He's not the age of the actor here. And, they got to work within the constraints of everybody's getting a year older every season. But things just altogether seem to be on a completely different time scale. And so it's kind of disconnected me a little bit from how long it takes. I wonder from episode to episode, okay, so how many months have passed?
Mm-hmm. It actually gets worse. From scene to scene, you'll be like, has like 3 months gone by since they last talked? What is happening?
Yeah. So I guess I've kind of just thrown it in that bucket of like, time's weird here. They're going on a completely different chart. So
we also have the gluttony to my father Cornello. Jason, how are you?
Why couldn't I have been lust?
Why couldn't you have been lust?
Gluttony is a form of lust.
I would have liked you on this podcast a lot more. How are you?
Been enamored with Warframe. It's funny because this game's been out since like 2012, but it's just hit the gaming community like a truck out of nowhere, and has just exploded in popularity. And people are calling it the Destiny that Destiny 2 should have been. And
I heard people call it a Destiny killer. Yeah.
Oh, it's cool because they're coming out. So some of the complaints with some of the veteran players was melee, because it was kind of almost a shoehorned in mechanic for a shooter. and they're coming out with a brand new huge content patch, but a big portion that a lot of the players are excited for is the melee. They're going to make it now its own thing. It's going to be a little simpler, and there's going to be some really, really neat animations. So I got a sneak peek on one of the streams, and it's very Shinobi-ish, the animations, and it looks smooth. So excited for that.
I have been
Call of Duty?
Call of Duty Black Ops 4 beta, which has been fun. I like the new mode control because there's a limited amount of lives, so you do have to be careful what you do. But you really do need teamwork, which is hard when you go in with 5 randos and then everyone goes in different directions.
Salty.
You're like, oh, if we all just went in the same direction, it's an easy win. But it is what it is.
Let's be honest. There is a lot more rage there in your heart when there's not teamwork.
Okay, so that's like the one game I get salty at. Yes, I did catch my 4-year-old saying a curse word because I had been saying a curse word. Let's move on to the anime.
Moving on from that point.
Like I said, we watched the 7 Deadly Sins. So now to start us off, we're going to do our non-spoiler review, and we'll start with Jeremy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's got action. It's got humor. The story it's enough. It's not amazing story-wise, but I mean, we are only halfway in, and they never are, except for like ReZero. But but I'm really enjoying it, and I really want to see where it goes for the rest of the season.
Jason, how about you?
It was definitely a fun ride. Like Jeremy said, the storytelling isn't amazing, and I think there's a lot of missed opportunities. But it's a fun watch. It's definitely worth it.
One thing I want to be upfront with before I give any reviews. I mean, I've already seen this entire first season, even the 12 episodes not included in this podcast. It will be in our next podcast. So I have to be very careful about how I phrase things. So if I seem a little distant in this podcast episode, that's why. But I've always found the 7 Deadly Sins to be like cotton candy. It's really good, and it's fun to go have. It is not the sustenance of My Hero Academia that I feed on once a week right now. The English dub just got to the big My Hero Academia test. So excited. But I enjoy watching these characters. I enjoy the stories. And every once in a while, I feel like this anime does hit peak levels of storytelling and character development and action. It's just, for the most part, it's really light and casual. This is the kind of anime I could just put on and like lay on the couch and maybe fall asleep to and then wake back up and be still entertained. I'd be okay with it. It's just not that deep. It's so that's my thoughts on it. Guys, thoughts on the opening and closing?
The opening was decent, but I found myself like nearly watching every closing.
If you don't watch, yeah,
the song was amazing. I really dug it. Like I looked forward to it. Plus, it's another one of those that there's a clip at the end that is fairly important. That they try to do like a recap at the beginning of the next episode. It's never the same. So not only did I not want to miss that, but yeah, I found myself really just digging the ending. But yeah, the beginning was all right.
I didn't quite connect to the ending that much, but I really like the beginning. Yeah, I just wasn't that great to me.
But you liked the beginning?
I did. I liked the beginning. I found myself actually humming that one.
So I skipped the beginning almost every single time, and I would never let myself skip the ending until at least Diane had danced.
Oh, see, I don't really like with the intros and outros. The whatever scenes are playing across them, I never care about. For me, it's all the music.
Elizabeth and Diane's dance in that song. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It was so charming.
The Food Wars is the only one that the image really, really mattered. Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's go on to our spoiler section. So this is our spoiler warning. We are going to now discuss characters and plot and everything about this anime. If you have not seen it, it will be ruined for you. But if you're okay with that, go along with us. See, I didn't tell him to turn it off, guys. I'm learning.
Yeah, you're getting better.
It only took us 99 episodes.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you caught that, we have the 100th episode coming up next week. Stay tuned.
So excited. Okay, but no, we got to focus on this. In the world of Seven Deadly Sins, it's a medieval world where there used to be gods and demons mixed in with humans. Eventually, a group of powerful humans called the Holy Knights drove out, separated these, and now it's mostly just humans in medieval world. But there's tons of powerful humans everywhere. This is a shonen battle anime that kind of breaks some of the molds. There's not like a plucky protagonist hero who never gives up, or who came from nothing and has to power up to reach his expectations. All the characters are powered when we meet them, even though they might not be maximum. Like, they've already reached their peak at one point and are now trying to get back to it. It's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But we start with an introduction from 10 years ago where some guards are running through the city and they see all these holy knights just dead or beaten on the ground. And they're like, who did this? And they're like, the Seven Deadly Sins did. And we're told, like in the intro, the Seven Deadly Sins rebelled against the kingdom, and they were the most powerful of all the holy knights, but they rebelled, and so now they're considered, most wanted, but they disappeared, and they've been missing for 10 years. And that's where the anime really starts, and we meet our first main character, Meliodas, who we find out was the leader of the Seven Deadly Sins, and he was the sin of wrath. He was their captain, Meliodas. He looks like a 12-year-old blonde-haired boy, like a normal anime protagonist, but he's actually like this old man, like really old man.
And he is ripped.
Yes, he is. We get to see that in the first episode.
Guys, your thoughts on Meliodas?
I feel as a whole, it's a missed opportunity. Now, that's without seeing any other content besides the first 12 episodes. Because the last few episodes, which we will get to, piqued my interest as far as Meliodas. But, he comes off a little touchy-feely and actually admits that he's been hunting the...
that was a joke.
Yeah, of course. There's no truth to it.
No. He's been hunting women, but no, he's the comedic timing with him is pretty good. I like that he gets serious when it's time to get serious. He doesn't stay too deep in his comedic timing, like I'm going to be the all powerful, plucky, whatever. Like when it's time to throw down, it's time to throw down. But I didn't connect with him as a character for me.
It kind of seemed like, as far as this story goes in general, we're sort of skipping across the surface of a deeper world. And Meliodas especially seems like a character that he's deliberately stopping everybody from knowing him. That's what I get from him, is that he's got this veneer on at all times, this facade of being this 12-year-old and of having the personality that's so carefree and everything. And so I kind of give him a little bit of a pass for not being able to connect to him, just because I know that he's trying not to let anybody connect to him. But I totally agree that is how he comes across. I love his humor. I think he had maybe one joke where I was like, okay, that one didn't land very well. I think that was when she said, oh, how's your wound, after he got wounded at a certain point. And he's like, oh, it's a scratch. And she says, are you sure? And he's like, So then all of a sudden the next scene, he's like under her skirt and he's like, maybe this will make me feel better. And I was like, I see what you're trying to go with the humor. I mean, it kind of fits in, but that one just didn't really land. But the rest of them, oh yeah, I love the rest of them. He landed them great. So I kind of, for me, he is a really strong humor character. Absolutely love that part of him.
Even like paintings of them in the opening or closing, he's like peeking up her skirt.
Yeah.
I really like Meliodas as a character, and I'm not 100% sure why. He's very light and very charming. He's so, but he plays everything so close to the vest. You're right. He reminds me a lot of Vasher Stampede, although not the same personalities. But the fact that there's a personality he projects that he lets everyone see, that he holds on to, and that there's obviously pain behind it of the real him. That's what I get when I watch him. But I really like his light side. I love how everything's just so matter of fact. I asked you guys, is he a genius who knows how to manipulate everybody, or is he an idiot and he really can't keep track of all these people? Because if you're thousands of years old, if we think of him as an old person, because everyone who sees him, no matter how old they are, is like, he's always looked like a kid to me. So he's clearly not aging. And so do we change our minds on the way he's acting if we see him as a pervy old man instead of a pervy young man?
Yeah, Roshi.
Right? That's where I get with all the pervy stuff, is I'm like, that tells me he's old, really. That's the message I got. And I honestly don't know how old he actually is. He could only be, 80. But that's the impression I get, is that he's just this pervy old man who owns up to it. He's like, oh yeah, I'm home. I'm horrible.
Yeah. I like that. That's really interesting. I never considered like the Vash the Stampede or the Super Old. I only took him to be maybe like 30 or 40 because I went back to 10 years, but I never took it farther.
I mean, it's possible because he doesn't age.
It
is possible.
So we see an old man know him for his age.
Like,
so
he says he should be around 30 during that fight.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Yeah. Well,
but
I anticipated.
Again, we don't know how old he was when the old man saw him 30 years ago or 10 years ago.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, he's a character I actually really like. I think he carries the show well, especially with just the mystery of him. Because there is a little bit of a menace behind everything. Like, you're not 100% sure if he's 100% trustworthy, because people tell stories like, yeah, he wiped out a kingdom. And then we see an image of him standing in front of a giant crater where a kingdom once stood. And then he's like, I didn't do it. And I'm like, then why did we see you standing above a crater?
Right.
So that's kind of interesting. He runs a tavern, which is, I love the name. It's the Boar's Hat, and it's literally a building on top of a giant pig's head. And the pig digs into the ground, and so it's a mobile tavern that he takes from village to village. I love that name. But who helps him run it is his sidekick, what is it? The Major of Scraps, or the Captain of Scraps?
Yes, the Knight of
Captain of the Order. Yeah, the Captain of the Order of the of
leftovers.
Who is the son of
disposal
of the tavern pig that they ride on?
Yes.
And his name is Hawk. What did you guys think of Hawk?
Piggy trap. This character was one of the more endearing ones. Bravest, biggest heart of everyone, but most useless. But yeah, it is a fantastic character, I thought, in all the comedic beats with the jokes about him being a hog and everyone loving roast hog.
Yep.
It was, I smiled at each one of those. So
I also like the way that he bounced off of Meliodas' jokes, how he kind of got to be the one that would let the audience realize that the writers aren't one-sided. Like, yeah, they're making a Meliodas joke, but then they're also criticizing Meliodas and like, what? Are you serious? Are you going to let this stand? You can't just move on from what you just did, right? Like, Hawk is making those claims. So you as an audience, when you're watching Meliodas do something and you get exacerbated by it and you're like, what is he doing, right? Then you hear Hawk say that and you realize, oh, okay, this is all just for jokes. And I think that they used him that way to pretty good effect. He was entertaining.
Hawk sometimes drives me crazy. Jason said is the most useless character, and I'm like, I just kind of wish you weren't here. But then sometimes he is endearing. And honestly, like you called out, piggy trot. When I first heard it, I'm like, that is so stupid. And by the third time he's saying it, I'm like, piggy trot. Let's go.
See, that doesn't happen in the subbed.
Does he say anything? Does he have any?
I mean, the subs didn't relay anything like piggy trot. So if he was saying it, I didn't understand it.
Okay. So yeah, I'm very mixed feelings about Hawk. But he is very typical anime mascot character. You know, in Fairy Tail, they have the flying cat, Happy. I think his name is Happy. Oh, my daughter just let me know it is happy, and if I ever mess that up again, she will not be talking to me anymore.
You won't be happy.
Okay, so while they're running the tavern, the local villagers are talking about they saw some rusted knight walking across.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone starts getting worried. It's one of the 7 deadly sins who they have wanted posters of in the tavern, even though Meliodas didn't recognize. He's like, what are these wanted posters in his tavern of the 7 deadly sins? And they use it to kind of foreshadow who these characters are going to be and also play with our expectations.
Oh, yeah.
But it's very silly that they are there and Meliodas has like almost no clue that they are there.
Yep. I absolutely
feigns it.
Yeah.
Yep. I absolutely loved how like a lot of the faces, they don't reflect the characters that we've been introduced to so far. That's really good.
Even the flashback scenes, the way they like use camera angles and stuff, so you can't tell certain characters' size,
or they're stuck inside their armors, and so you're like, I have no idea which one's which. And
for instance, Meliodas, who I've already revealed is one of the 7 deadly sins. He has like a goatee in his because they assumed he aged, and so they've drawn him as a grown man, and so no one recognizes his wanted poster. Anyway, the knight comes in, everyone runs away, and it turns out that it's actually the princess of the kingdom, the 3rd princess, who was adopted?
No.
Yeah. No, she's not of the same blood, but I don't know where she came from.
No, I think it's the other way around. Or at least that's how I understood it.
Really? I thought she said the king adopted her.
So, the sister that we see near the end... I was under the assumption she was adopted, and that was one of the reasons she was afforded the freedom to go look for her, because she wasn't blood. And for some reason, they needed the bloodline under wraps, as we'll find out later.
I didn't get that, but I like that.
Okay.
That's interesting.
At least that's how the storytelling was to me. I could be wrong. Troy,
we'll find out in the second season for sure.
I don't know from having watched future episodes. My interpretation from watching it this time, because I watched this like a while ago, to be fair. My interpretation this time is that Elizabeth was the adopted one, but I don't know for sure. I don't have anything written down.
I'm scared to look it up because I don't want to spoil what comes next, and I know I will.
We'll definitely have to talk about Elizabeth more in the future, so don't worry about it. But let's talk about her now. What did you guys think of this character?
I have mixed feelings.
She dances good.
Yeah, and she's drawn well.
Yep.
It's hard to put a finger on it because there's stuff about her that bugs me that doesn't feel like it fits within this world, especially for someone that's royalty.
Is she so naive?
I wouldn't call anything that she does naive. I think what she does is
Roper and not realize that's bad.
Well, I have a feeling it's not unwanted, and that's I think one of the reasons I haven't called this out as being creepy, because a lot of the way she's drawn with his interaction in her, like I think she wants a relationship with him. Like there's that scene where he's like, all right, let's, he straight up approaches her. She doesn't say no. She doesn't run from him. She's just surprised that he was so forward. And then Hawk decided to break that up.
Yep.
Yeah, I have. There's a lot of things I like about her, but there's a lot of things I dislike about her. And I want to get too much time kind of mulling it all over, but I think I'm going to have to just put her in stasis as far as how I feel about her until I see the second season.
Okay. So my perspective on her is, at first I was kind of annoyed with how she came across so tropey, especially like when he took the helmet off or the helmet fell off and we see that. And I'm like, okay, that's a girl. I know that's a girl. And then I loved Meliodas. He's like poking her. He's like, this is a girl, right? Is this a girl? Then he walks over, starts squeezing her boob, and Hawk screaming at him. Like, it had some great scenes, and she was always the butt of the joke in the scenes. And that's, I really like her because she allowed those jokes to exist, right? But her behavior almost seemed like tapestry a lot of the time. Like, she never showed, like you said, Jason, maybe she's just interested in Meliodas, so she's letting him get away with stuff. Absolutely. But I kind of wanted to see a little bit more life from her in those regards. And so to me, she came across a little bit boring at first, but then they started to go on an arc with her where she was having to prove herself.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was actually talking to my son about this because he blasted through both seasons a while back. He seemed to really enjoy it. I told him that it probably wouldn't have passed my first 3 episode.
Yeah, it just came across as boring at the beginning for her.
It wasn't particularly boring, but it wasn't particularly interesting either until like later episodes, which they earn it. I'll have to say that. But yeah, she was throughout this whole thing. I mean, maybe up until about episode 9, she's that tropey, optimistic. I'm gonna save the world kind of ditz.
Yeah, I liked it when she actually put herself in danger. The moment she started doing that, I looked at her a little bit differently as, she intends to grow. I mean, she sees how outclassed she is, how overpowered everybody around her is, but she's still trying to prove that she's more than just words. She's going to stand up for what she believes and put herself in danger.
In that respect, I saw her like Hawk. She was kind of useless.
Yeah, but the charisma and being able to actually inspire other people to do it by your determination is pretty cool.
Yeah, Diane, one over Diane's.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I liked her in the end. Was that?
I don't really like her.
You don't really like her?
Almost every character in this is tropey in one way or another, and for the most part, that's fine because it's not trying to be anything else. It's just like, yeah, we're going to be tropey. We're just going to do the tropes really well, and we're going to have a lot of fun, and then have some deep moments. And I just don't. Elizabeth just doesn't work for me. Her tropiness just kind of doesn't fit with the nihilistic viewpoint of the others.
You're absolutely right. She is adopted.
She just doesn't work for me. I don't hate her, but she is probably my least favorite character.
One of the things that I think she facilitates for me is she makes me occasionally question again whether the 7 deadly sins are good guys. Because there's times where I can't help it. I look at them and I'm like, okay, you seem like good guys, everything you're doing, but at the same time, I could totally see you guys doing something villainous. Obviously, you're all trying to, do some sort of repentance for your sins that we hear a little bit about here and there. But her naivety, her purity, essentially, in her approach contrasts so well against them because she's so clean and so pure in that regard in what she wants and in her intentions of trying to save the kingdom and everything, that their sort of, like you said, nihilism just comes off, or nihilism, whatever. I can never remember how to pronounce the I. Comes off as maybe they're just going along with her right now, and they wouldn't have done this themselves. They wouldn't have been inspired. They're just moving with her.
I think Meliodas honestly does care, and then the rest just kind of whatever Meliodas wants to do, they kind of go along with it.
It's fun. Yeah.
I mean, Diane will follow Meliodas. Bond will follow Meliodas. King will follow Diane. And they just kind of chain.
Got a chain.
Yeah. And we don't really know about the others, but for the ones we've met so far, that's just kind of the impression I get. That Meliodas is just kind of the driving force, and they just kind of go with the flow. So after he meets her, he finds out that what she's looking for is the 7 deadly sins because the holy knights of the kingdom have turned against the king and have taken over the kingdom. Her father had her run away, so she's like, well, the one people that the holy knights hate is the 7 deadly sins, so let me go get them, and they'll help me. They can't be as bad as everyone says they are. She is mistaken for one of the 7 deadly sins and chased by soldiers. What was interesting, one of those soldiers was the guy from the flashback at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. But yeah, they chase her. Meliodas ends up saving her. And then a holy knight does show up. Sir Twiggle.
Oh, he's not a knight.
No, he's an apprentice, isn't he?
Is he an apprentice holy knight?
Yeah.
So he ends up being super powerful, but he's like willing to kill his own men to get them. And then Meliodas.
Conclusion.
Oh God, I love that. Yeah,
he talks like a robot.
Confirmation, confirmed. He always says confirmed in the subtitle. Love it.
Meliodas beats him because Meliodas has a very special attack, even though he has a sword that's not really there; it's completely broken. He has a move called Full Counter, where if you hit him with a magic attack, he can send it right back at you full force.
That was double the force.
Does it double it?
Yeah, it doubles it.
So Meliodas wins easily, and he reveals himself as, hey, I am Meliodas, the captain of the 7 deadly sins. And he tells Elizabeth, I'm going to help you. And their quest now is to gather all the other 7 deadly sins to rebel against the Holy Knights. And then Sir Wiggle, or whatever his name was, we see him report back to a Holy Knight who we will meet a little later. But that kind of comes up in the second episode. The second episode, man, if you're trying to keep me not from watching your anime, this second episode is about as close as you can get to driving me away. This is a rough one.
Wasn't this the boy in the village, the orphan boy?
So they go to this village to buy the best alcohol, and then they find out, hey, our water's been cut off because this Holy Knight put a sword in the ground because this kid pissed him off by insulting him because he insulted our beer.
Yep.
Blah blah blah, kid. Why are you sad?
Yeah.
One thing about the kid.
Uh-huh.
The story of the kid is that he was raised by travelers.
Yeah.
And
that town.
While they were walking through this village, or while they're at this village, his parents died. So the village adopted him. His name is Mead, but he was like 5 when the brewery village adopted him.
So they renamed him.
Did they rename him, or did he just coincidentally have the name of alcohol and came to an alcohol town?
That's awesome. That's great.
Okay.
This was specifically the episode that I was thinking of when I said that the story was sometimes not great. This one really just was so boring. So boring.
And the big conclusion is that Meliodas pulls the sword out.
Yeah. Which we knew was coming.
Yeah, we saw that a mile away.
Yeah.
The only lasting consequence this has is it gets back to this Holy Knight whose name is Gilthunder. We'll talk about him in a minute. He's like, wait, someone pulled my sword out of the ground, picks up one of the soldiers' spears, throws it like cross country to basically nuke this village. Meliodas, who's serving drinks to the village in the bar, is like, oh, wait, something's coming. Walks outside.
You know what my first initial thought to this was? DBZ. They're like, power level.
Yes.
Like, that was immediate. I was like, oh, okay, this is a shonen.
Yep.
And it is. I mean, it really is. He catches the spear and throws it right back. And this lets Gilthunder know that Meliodas is still alive.
So the really cool thing, like, for one, this scene was actually pretty beautiful as far as like a battle sequence, right? Because it's only him and a spear.
Yep.
What I found really interesting about it is Gilthunder was able to throw it with like what can we say, a 30-meter accuracy, but then when Meliodas throws it, he throws it with like a 10-centimeter accuracy. It nearly kills him.
Yep. Right where his head was. This scene redeemed the episode for me. It was so good. Seeing him catch the spear and then actually be pulled by the force of the spear down into the village and through multiple buildings was just... It took me back to when I used to love watching Shonen. Like the first time I saw a Dragon Ball Z moment, it's that high. You're like, yeah!
Also, another neat detail about this scene, his hand was bloody, which I thought was a really nice touch. Not that he was this invincible beast that can just sense danger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was really cool.
That was funny, though. I gotta pee.
Yeah. Cute.
From here, they decide to head to the White Forest of Dreams or something like that, both to hide from the Holy Knights, who they now will know where they are, and because there's a good possibility a sin is there. When they do go there, after some stealing and then dealing with goblin clones and using the panty stealing to reveal the goblin clones,
so good.
It actually has a pretty good payoff. I thought it was. At first, I'm like, that is just really really out there.
Yep.
They're focusing a lot on it too. It had a good payoff.
Yeah.
They meet Diane, the sin of envy, and she is a giant, which is apparently a species here.
And infatuated with Meliodas.
Oh yeah.
Who she doesn't quite recognize at first, which is always interesting. That's why I get the sense like they're not quite 30 years old, because their like memories are so clogged up they can't even remember when they see each other. They're like, we know each other, right? So she picks him up and gives him a big hug. She's totally in love with Meliodas. He does not feel that way at all about her. And actually she gets quite jealous of Elizabeth, who he is quite infatuated with himself. She eventually does agree to go with them on their quest, though, to help find the other 7 deadly sins, but they are attacked by Gilthunder. So we need to talk first about Diane, what your thoughts are on her, the giant woman. Jeremy, she's your favorite, right?
Yeah, she is. Absolutely love Diane. I was wondering at first who the giant was going to be. And then when it turned out to be this character, I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I know it's like featured on the intro, but it actually didn't click. When I was watching the intro, I just thought it must be a matter of perspective. Like she's closer to the camera.
Right.
And yeah. And so when it turned out that she was actually the giant, I was really curious. Like this is a really interesting character. Seeing her interactions with Elizabeth and how she actually portrayed envy really well. Up to this point, Meliodas hadn't really portrayed wrath, and he rarely does. So I always wondered whenever I would hear their names, why. And I'm sure it has more to do with the sin they committed than it does to do with who they are. But I kind of wanted to see more of that sin exposed in their interactions. And it was really cool to see that. I also kind of, in my mind, her being so big, envy is such a massive, all-consuming thing. Next thing, I expect her to be green, right? But I absolutely loved the scenes where she actually has an opportunity to pursue Meliodas as the right size person. God, I want to like preserve that and not spoil it too much, and just her behavior, the way she acts, the fact that she's this tough, energetic character that, I don't know, there's something about her. She's really entertaining and easy to connect with. I don't know, maybe she reminds me of Tanya. I don't know. But I really like that character.
Okay, I gotta change everything I just was going to say. Jason, what did you think of her?
I thought she was all right. I don't know. To have this fantasy world where there's goblins and monsters and demons, and you draw your giants as just large people. I can buy it. I think there could have been more interesting storytelling around her, and she suffers from the same lack of backstory storytelling that all the other characters suffer from. And so again, another character I wasn't really able to connect with, but in her scenes, she was fun to watch, and I really liked her interactions with Meliodas. I mean, it was funny. I really wanted to know more about her earth power, because that was really interesting. Like she's a earthbender that can make, towers of stone appear out of nowhere. So
yeah, they called it the power of creation, and it makes me curious if it has more to do with than just mineral. I don't know. But she can even change her body too, which is really cool.
Sisters with Momo. Oh wait, wrong.
I really like Diane. I especially like how she's envy, because I think they say that she's the physically strongest of all the 7 deadly sins. And so even though she has all this power, what she's envious about isn't that. It's, I wish I could be normal like all of you. I wish I could be smaller and not have all this power. I want to be a human, and that's where her envy comes from. And I really think that's a cool twist on that sin, and what they're presented with. I kind of, when she really gets into her more immature moments, and she's probably the most, well, there's Bond, but for the most part, she's the most immature member. Sometimes it can be like, that's a little bratty. You know, you're a little.
That's what I like.
but she's also really endearing. She's really sweet and heartfelt in what she does. And you kind of got to feel for her that she's in love with this guy who absolutely has no feelings to her whatsoever and is sometimes sensitive about it and sometimes not.
Yep.
So I really like Diane. That's for me. Now, we don't know much about him. I do. But you guys, what do you think of Gilthunder? Who's presented as our rival villain of what we see here?
He was unbelievable for me. Because of his upbringing, because of who his dad was, because of what Holy Knights were supposed to have stood for, and now they're turning into this thing. Why is he such this evil guy? It doesn't fit. And I don't have enough information about him. So I had a tough time suspending my disbelief of this guy being this big of a evil dude. I thought his powers were cool, and I thought his battle with Meliodas was really great. I thought that's what sold 3 and 4 for me. Because like I said, I don't think this would have passed my 3-episode test. But his battle definitely redeemed those 2 episodes. So, plus I loved watching Diane chuck him. That was amazing.
Great. Yep. And he like shows up when people are praying for something, and they're praying for salvation or protection or something.
Praying for salvation from him and his holy knights.
And he like crashes into
their building and walks away.
Yeah. Oh, that was good. Gilthunder, to me, I mean, knowing that the only little bit that we do see about him is that, you know, he was friends with the royal family. His father was the great royal knight or great holy knight, the one that got killed, which is the reason why the 7 deadly sins are considered criminals, is because, you know, they supposedly killed that guy, and then everybody turned against them and attacked them, and they supposedly killed everybody else. This is what we're led to believe. So it makes me think that he's acting so evilly because he has his own vendetta of vengeance that he's going after, and he's putting everything else behind him. As far as his treatment of everybody else, because he is villainous, like the way he treats everybody is so, it lacks empathy in any way. He doesn't care about the common man at all. And the only thing that kept going through my mind was sometimes, and this is just common in stories that I've read a lot of, is when you have somebody in a position of they grow up in a position of power. I can see them thinking that, you know, what's most important is whatever their goal is, even if they have to sacrifice everybody below. And looking at the Holy Knights as a group, you know, they're just from what we get in the first half of this season, they're clearly villainous. I mean, the source of some of their power is villainous. But these ones that seem to be true Holy Knights that are up at the top and they haven't been tainted, they're just jerks. And I think it's because of the issue of perspective. They don't think they are. They think they're doing something bigger and more important. I don't know what it is yet, but that's just the impression that I'd gotten from this scenario, is that they're like the Faith Militant is what it seems like from Game of Thrones.
There also seems to be 2 groups. Like they're not a unified.
Yeah. Hendrickson and Gilthunder, I think, right? Something like that.
Even so, I could see Gilthunder following orders from higher command because he's told to, but have some sort of empathy or hurt in doing these things. But before he even knows Meliodas exists anymore, here he is starving this town of their only source of income.
Just over an insult, too. Or a response to his insult.
Right.
How dare they even respond?
Right.
Yeah.
So sure, I get the whole nothing's going to get in my way. But what does nuking a town have anything to do with? Like, I could see him. Okay, I'm going to test whether Meliodas is there, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing has the power to completely wipe out an entire civilization, or not civilization, but that entire area. Like, I just didn't like him as a villain.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite part of a lot of animes.
I kind of like to contrast him with Hauser, since the two of them appear later in a scene together. And Hauser's awesome. And he seems to be an indication that not all Holy Knights are bad.
And that's the thing, is Hauser is what I pictured Gilthunder should have been as far as a storytelling.
Yeah, so it makes me think that there must be substantial story behind Gilthunder that's turned him so vicious.
But we don't get it.
We don't know what it is yet.
What about you, Troy?
Pass. They're all very good points, though, guys.
And we'll see how we're all wrong next time.
I just can't talk about Gilthunder because he does develop much more in the second half, and I think when I first watched this, I was right with you guys.
Okay.
I also do love Hauser, and we will actually talk. We're not going to talk about him very much here. We will talk about him in the second part. I'm pretty sure.
He's probably my second favorite character.
Hauser's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, they have a battle. He shows up and he's all like, "Oh, I'm super powerful. I have lightning powers. I've got you guys trapped." And like, nothing you could do could break these bonds. And he's like, "Okay, I'm going to fight you now. I'll let you out of your bonds. Don't worry about it." Even Diane. Well,
actually,
weren't holding us.
It was hilarious because Diane was about to, and Meliodas was like, "Wait, no, don't do that yet."
Yeah.
One thing I want to call out about Gilthunder, I absolutely love Meliodas' name for him. You little Gil.
Little Gil. That is great.
That just makes me smile every time. Like this big bad guy shows up.
He needs more credence to how old he may be.
Yeah.
So Gilthunder wins the fight, cuts Meliodas open, with a backslash and knocks him out. And then Meliodas is on the ground like, "Where's the other sins?" And he tells him like, "Bond's in the prison and this guy's dead." And then Meliodas jumps up. "Thank you for telling me."
Yep.
And then, like you said, Diane picks Gilthunder up and just launches him. Which is funny because when the fight started, he's like, "Diane, don't get involved. I can handle this." And at the end of the fight, he's like, "Diane, get rid of him."
Well, it's funny because he's like, "No, this is over. We'll fight later." He's like, "No, we'll fight now." And Diane's like, "Did you not listen?"
However, this injury turns out to be more severe than he plays it off at, because he's like, "Hey, a good sleep and I'll be fine." He does a little pervy thing. He goes inside and he actually passes out. So they rush they decide to go after Bond first, who's in the prison. They go to the village outside the prison, and they go to a doctor to have him treated.
I was calling this doctor being bad. Not bad, but just doing something.
Right. So we'll find out the doctor actually poisons him.
Yeah.
But he's like, "Every poison I have, I just gave him all the
all at once.
At the same time, a bunch of holy knights who run this prison. There's Frisia, Golgius, Bruin, and Jude.
I'm sorry for a title of this bugged the absolute.
The weird Fang Knights.
No, yeah, that was weird. No, this really hit a nerve with me because you've got this order of people that call themselves holy, right? But then you've got just classic villain after classic villain after classic villain, and it's like, what? Why is this title Holy Knight when you've got literally Bug Lady that has a name so synonymous with Frieza from another franchise that's really evil? And then you've got like evil looking horned helmet dude. It's like,
well, even the Seven Deadly Sins' armor looked wicked, right? Like, no one looked good.
Yeah,
they were called the Seven Deadly Sins even when they were in good standing.
But Jason is absolutely correct. There is no such thing as a group associated with a religious movement that has ever been corrupted and evil.
Called themselves holy.
They usually try to play off as if they are on the side of light, by the way.
I'm sure they do, but these are prison wardens. Like, this is where they send like the freaky guys. Like, "Oh, that guy is not good for the public. He needs to watch the prison."
Fair enough.
So the bug one, Frisia, attacks them with all these bugs, which turns out Diane's one weakness or fear.
Yeah.
But no, she's giant. She wouldn't even be able to see an ant. What is she talking about? Afraid of bugs? They don't matter to her. They're nothing but dust.
It's psychological.
Anyway, she kills them all with stone slabs. She's like the whole village is just stone slabs stabbing in the air to kill bugs.
I do love that there's this repeating theme of every village they go through just gets completely destroyed. And it's not because they're trying. They're just defending themselves, but they all get destroyed.
So like, to be fair, the town was literally melting from acid from these bugs before she made
it. Yeah, the Holy Knights do not protect villages.
Oh, yeah. No. Yep.
We find out the one who poisoned Meliodas. He's there to steal Meliodas' sword and get the princess. When he goes for the sword, Meliodas wakes up.
Well, something wakes up.
Yeah, there's a weird tattoo over on his forehead. His eyes are dark, and he's pissed. This is the wrath, I'm guessing.
Also, their prisoner Bon, who's heard the rumblings of the 7 deadly sins being outside, has started to hum. It's like the first time he's moved in like 10 years. And they show him, and he's just impaled with spikes in his prison. Was it 5 years?
5 years.
He's been in prison for 5 years.
Yep.
So while Meliodas and everyone is battling outside, he starts breaking out. And he just walks out of his cell and starts pulling the spikes out. And they're like, what are you doing? Even a Holy Knight comes up to him and is like, I'm the one who captured you. He's like, yeah, I was really bored and thought being captured would be, something new.
I thought the pain would make me feel, but I got bored of it.
Then he slowly takes one of the spikes that the guy drove through his heart, just pulls it out and just slowly pushes it back into that guy.
Also, the apprentice Holy Knight, Jericho, attacks him. I didn't get the impression she was dressed like a man. I knew that was a girl right away, but apparently I think it was a boy. She attacks him, and she gets done. Oh, he used her sword to get a shave and a haircut. He's like, "Oh, you're a pretty good barber, thank you."
That was awesome. Yep.
That will have repercussions, though. I like that was a one-off joke, and that plays off into the larger story. I thought that was
one of the really endearing things, but also really jerkish things he does is he keeps seeing other people in outfits. He's like, I like that outfit.
I'm gonna go beat him up and take it. It's always the same outfit too.
Yeah, it's always anyone who's wearing red with the studs on it. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, he tried to take Jericho's armor.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, it doesn't fit. And he left her and put her underpants.
Yep.
One thing that there is a flashback that both explains two things that are mentioned. First, Meliodas does not let other people touch his sword. And it's a flashback of Bon being like, hey, Captain, let me see your sword. No, Bon, no one touches my sword. No, just let me see it. You're going to make me mad. I can make you mad. That's how I really want to touch it. And he slices Bon open on the neck, and Bon has a scar there. And he points out to Jericho, no one can injure me but one person because he has super healing regenerative powers. And that's the only time anyone's ever left a lasting wound on his person. From that,
he was like, and that guy's the one I'm gonna follow, basically to my grave, which doesn't exist.
Yep.
So they fight. First, they fight the Golgias, who acts like he can teleport, but really he can turn invisible. They manage to defeat him and make him run away.
I thought that was fairly clever, but you saw it coming a mile away.
Yeah. Yes, I have teleporting powers. That's right.
He kills the doctor. But like I said, they managed to defeat him. I like the way they beat him. I thought that was clever, going up into an old building, slicing up the floor real quick, and then waiting to come up behind and fall. But he gets away anyway.
As far as villains go in this, I did like how cowardly he was. Which was a bit as far as
run away, lived another day. The next guy they run into is someone who can hypnotize his opponents, and Diane and Meliodas see each other as this Holy Knight and start battling. And it's actually Elizabeth who stops him because he's pretending to be a little farmer boy, and he keeps ringing this bell to hypnotize him. His name is Ruin. I actually like this scene. It is probably like Elizabeth Beth's moment in this whole 12 episode is he hits her in the face with his staff, like full on hits her in the face, and then he looks and his bell's gone, and it's in her mouth. She ripped it off and spits it. I like that she just spits it out like, got you.
Yeah. Even though she's got no power, she still managed to do that. That was really cool. This is where Elizabeth started seeming like a more interesting character to me.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Elizabeth's got no power?
Well, I mean, I don't know what she has, but so far she shouldn't have survived that.
I think her earring has a lot to do with unlocking whatever potential she has, but that's just my theory.
You guys noticed that the doctor came back to life, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was wondering like why the doctor was still alive when it happened. I thought they said something, but I can't remember what it was.
And also, I was wondering.
I honestly don't know what it. I don't remember what it is, but I'm pretty sure it has to do with Elizabeth. And,
so both the doctor and Meliodas.
Yeah, because Meliodas should have died.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. I could see the wrath part of him keeping him from dying from the poison,
Maybe.
But his wound healed up within hours.
I associated his any time that he goes into the tattoo on the forehead, dark eyes moment, which seems to be whenever he takes enough damage to kill him, he goes into that mode. So I thought that was just like a reset button. He just can't die. When he gets to the point where he's going to die, he resets and he's more powerful than ever, and then he comes back to himself. But it could have something to do with Elizabeth. I don't know.
Pass.
Blink twice if it's her earring.
That's right.
I actually don't remember. I remember Elizabeth is important somehow, and I can't remember. This anime is so light. It didn't like moments stuck in my head. A lot of Bond moments stuck in my head. Every time Bond and Meliodas have any fight or battle, awesome. That sticks in my memory. The plot, so not so much. Speaking of which, after they beat that Holy Knight, they run back to the prison, both to rescue the doctor's daughter and Bond. And God, it's got to be top 3 scenes for me in these episodes.
Oh yeah,
is Meliodas and Bond reuniting, because they're all like, "Oh no, they're going to meet again. You better get ready." And they see each other, Captain
Bond,
and they start like doing
patty cakes
so hard it's destroying walls.
Yes, and you should mention too that like at this point, Golgius, the knight that was a coward that ran away, he put a shielding enchantment around it and was like, "Yeah, 10 terror dragons or tyrant dragons couldn't break this seal. They're stuck in there for all eternity." I'm like, oh, how are they going to bring this down? This is going to be so good. But I never anticipated this.
They arm wrestle the building down.
Yeah, it's so good.
One thing this anime does really well is having fun with animating when they're falling. So many times, like, Diane will stomp something and people will just go flying. And because it's Bond and Meliodas and they're so powerful, they're just super casual about flying through the air. Like, Bond will have his hands in his pockets and be upside down. It happens. They do it. It's great.
Yeah, I think my favorite part was when Bond punched Meliodas at that point. His hello punch. Meliodas goes through like 4 walls. Boom, 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 boom. And Bond's shown like at the end of the corridor that he makes. And he's like, what are you going to do next? Yeah, this is so great. I just love the expression. The body language was so good. Like, they're a couple of dogs having a great time, just goofing off, playing. So happy.
So let's talk about Bond. Let's give our reviews of this character. He's literally my favorite character, but Jason, I think he's yours too.
Yes, he is, definitely. I really... And part of it is because they did so much backstory with him. I love how nonchalant jerk he is.
Heart of gold. Kind of.
Yeah. Right. And he's another character. We have no idea how old he is. The thing is that he kind of, he's what I would envision someone that is bored with immortality and just not sure what to do with themselves to keep themselves busy from minute to minute.
I don't think Bond is that old, because we do get a flashback of when Meliodas meets him, and he was in prison, had recently been put in prison for his sin. and his sin happened when he was
burning down. Yeah,
and it was still a normal human lifespan. He was still young when that happened. So I don't think like a lot of time passed between those two moments, because that'd be the only way he.
Well, he had a full beard and long hair.
Yeah, it's a year.
It could. I'm not saying like it can't be a couple years that he was being executed and imprisoned, but I just don't think like 2 centuries went by and then Meliodas met him.
Okay, that's fair.
Maybe it was just a sort of depression over what had happened and his, what he lost and what he was forced to do, and etc.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally misunderstood as far as his intentions, because he does come off as a near villainous character, but he never does anything super bad. Like most he does is like steal people's clothes or plushies, but or their pocket change. But because he was originally a bandit, like that's where he comes from. But yeah, he's definitely got a heart of gold, and he has this fondness for Meliodas, not just because of him being such a great captain, but also because he can wound him. And they can also take each other's hits, right? And they do it for funsies. But I really connected with this character for a lot of those reasons.
Yeah. I think if I was to pick a second place, it would definitely be Bond. He is hysterical and yet really complex and deep. I think probably my favorite moments that caught me off guard, because I mean the humor was awesome, but some of the things that just caught me off guard in the everyday activities that he had was like there's a point where King is just standing on a spear, like he throws the spear through Ban and just kind of stands on it while he's having a conversation with somebody over his shoulder.
And Bond just looks back like, yeah, what are you doing?
Yeah, what's up? It's like his casual dealing with pain and dealing with just being skewered by things. I mean, when he's in prison, they don't just have like a couple of stakes through him. They got a stake through each hand, a stake through each forearm, a stake through each bicep, a stake through each foot, a stake through each calf, a stake through each thigh, a stake in his chest.
Giant holes you can look through.
Yeah, they're these huge holes. And so like this guy is... the way he deals with physical trauma and pain is it's just so casual. I don't even get the whole, like with Wolverine, it hurts. He's yelling and he's hollering and he's amped up for a fight. I don't get that with Ban. With Ban, it's like at all times he's casual, he's joking, he's relaxed, and it's almost shocking.
I do think Jason's right about he's bored with immortality, which is kind of odd that it's so soon that he got bored. But when he's hurt, I think he's almost like, that's different, that's different than how I felt a second ago. So I don't mind.
He's always surprised. It looks like it hurts every time he just vomits up more blood.
Yeah.
But he's just
so casual about it.
Yeah, very casual about it.
I do really like his power too. That he literally just steals power from people.
That was cool. I also love the fact that in the flashback, like his attack on the demon was literally to steal its heart out of its body. I was like, wow, you're really staying in theme with this character. This is cool.
Even a bladed nunchucks, I imagine that's got to be hard to master.
Yeah.
We get a scene out. So they have a big dinner with the revived doctor. He feeds them all dinner, and they basically just kind of everybody introduces each other, gets to know each other. Diane and Elizabeth are now friends. Blah blah blah. Everybody's happy, and we're going on to the next story arc, which is teased by Gilthunder talking to King, saying, "Hey, just so you know, the 7 deadly sins are reuniting, and they're probably heading this way." And we will meet King in a moment. So their next stop is they're trying to reach what's called the Necropolis, or the City of the Dead. And we start getting Bond's flashbacks. Man, I don't know the best way to present this, because the whole flashbacks are he was a bandit who tried to find the Fountain of Youth, which was in the fairy forest. He got to it, and there's what looks like a young girl defending it, and she just throws him out to die. And he doesn't die. He lands in some trees, and he climbs back up, and it happens again and again. No matter where she throws him, he keeps not dying. The forest is literally saving him, catching him, keeping him alive. And she's like, wait, what is happening? Why would the forest keep you alive? You're trying to steal this thing that the forest needs to live. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then she's like, hey, you need to stop. You'll kill the forest. She's like, okay, I stop.
Yeah.
And
The
she
forest-
reaches...
The cranberries here, or what was it? There was some berry. The elderberries here make
That makes
great alcohol. I love, and I wouldn't want to lose that.
Right. Yeah, because she reads his mind, and she's like, oh, he's legit. He just gives up like that, which is funny because he was like, I'm super determined and nothing's going to stop me. And then as soon as he like, oh, this is going to have repercussions that I'm not going to love, I'll figure something else out. I'm out.
Even though I'm going to just live a normal lifespan, I'll only be able to drink the alcohol that long. I could live forever and find other alcohol.
That good.
Wow.
Which has an ironic twist with the ending, right?
Yep.
He stays there and spends time with Elaine.
Years.
I thought it was like 7 days.
Yeah,
Nope.
7 days.
It was.
She mentions it was the best 7 days of my life.
That's what she says to
I swear I read years.
She tells King, in 7 days, he filled me up with more joy than I'd felt in the thousands of years I spent there waiting for you.
Yeah. I heard that line, but I thought at a different point she said years. That's strange to me. But okay, either way.
We'll have to look it up.
He overhears her saying, I wish he would steal me. And he's like, you know what? That is a great idea. I'm going to take you away. She's like, well, I can't do that unless my brother, because, well, he says, you talked about your brother. I'll get him to come back here. He'll be the guardian. You and me can go. Before that happens, though, they're attacked by a demon. This is our first glimpse of the demons of this world, but they are very important lore-wise.
It felt very World of Warcraft, the way they presented it, because it wasn't this slender, sly thing that was shooting fireballs or
this is big fat blob monster.
Exactly. That was very, very Warcraftian as far as how demons are presented, like strong elder demons.
And then it burned a tree, which is also very Warcraft.
Shots fired. Okay, so Bond tries to fight it, steals its heart out. Didn't know it had two. Him and Elaine both get cut down with fatal injuries. She tries like, "Hey, drink the Fountain of Youth; it'll save you." He's like, "No, you need to use it. Save you." And she starts to drink it, and then she puts it into his mouth with a kiss. He's revived. He becomes immortal. He murderizes the demon, but then Elaine dies in his arms. So that's all the flashbacks that are interspersed like over the next almost 3 episodes. But I wanted to get that out of the way because retelling it would be hard to do. Guys, thoughts on the flashback though? Because to me, it is probably one of the best flashbacks I've seen in Shonen in a long time.
I would 100% agree. That moment, because she's dying in his arms. She's like, tell me that you'll steal me away again. And so he goes to like start saying it, and she dies. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, the heartstrings have
finished,
been
darn it.
Yeah, and then when he said that, I was like, that was the most endearing part of this whole anime, in my opinion. But kind of sets the mood for why he is the way he is and who he is as a person. The backstory gave a lot of world building as well, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, I thought that this kind of justifies any sort of possibility of him having depression as the reason why he's like, I don't feel anything. I don't mind the pain, But I absolutely loved this backstory, but I was kind of surprised by where did the demon come from? That was the one thing that got me, is I was like, this is really abrupt. Like, everything's been so great for however long he was here, and then the moment he decides to leave, boom, this crazy demon shows up. That felt a little bit contrived, but it wasn't enough to actually do any damage to the story. It was just like a little snag in the back of my head. Either of you, like, did it make sense, like where the demon came from, or was it just like, no, this is good for the story, so there it is?
Gave it a bit of a pass at the time because I was so invested in Bond's story. Now that you bring it up, you're absolutely right. the fact that we got no information on where it came from, did it come through a dimensional portal? Did it just appear out of existence? Yeah, none of those things are addressed. Just demon.
Right. Yeah. It's like, it's here. Move story along. Yeah. Yep. But it's a very minor thing, and it did not take away from the story for me, but it was a little snag.
Pass? I think I pass. I pass on this.
Okay.
I guess for me, I honestly don't know. I just feel like at this point in time, we don't know enough about the demons of this world to know if it's a good or bad thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Which bugs me a lot.
That's only the first 12 episodes.
We got a long way left to go.
We have to meet a lot of characters before we learn like the super history of the world.
Okay, I do have a question. I don't think is going to be too spoilers for me, Troy. The demon Bond killed. Is it the same?
That's what I was going to say.
It is, okay. That I figured.
Yes, it is. It is an audio podcast for some people, and I need to answer out loud. Yes, it is. Okay, so in the non-flashback stories, King is waiting in this village where the Necropolis is supposed to be for Bond, and when Bond shows up after seeing these two little kids,
he's teamed up with the Holy Knights, right?
He's working with the Holy Knights with the intent. So his whole thing is, that was my sister, dude. Basically,
and he doesn't have the full story. He just thinks he killed her to get to the
after the Seven Deadly Sins broke up. He went home, saw the forest burn down, and was like, "Oh, that's why that guy was immortal the whole time."
Right.
Which is a little odd because Bond was in prison for the burning of that forest. It was known, but I don't know.
I don't think he got caught right away.
But he was caught before he became a Seven Deadly Sin.
Oh, you're right. He did.
Well,
but if King didn't
you're
know
right.
about it,
you're right. He was. That's true.
But King is also Sloth. Maybe he just didn't pay attention.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I was trying to figure out like why Sloth, but then in the way the story rolls, it seems like his action is. He's even on the enemy's side for a short period of time.
His slothfulness comes from his physicality. He doesn't. No, because he doesn't exert any energy except for magic.
He's the weakest of all of them physically.
So the sin does not necessarily always equate to the persona, much like Wrath with Meliodas. It usually has, in my experience, there's almost always a twist and a reason why you got that name, separate from that.
Bond's greed is.
Bond isn't greed because he was greedy to get the Fountain of Youth. He's greedy to die. He's greedy for pain, or I don't even know if that's true, but that's my impression.
He's greedy for red leather clothes with studs.
Hey, he needed a replacement jacket. His fault.
Yeah.
So I don't remember why King is Sloth. I don't think it's just because he carries a pillow and is lazy. I'm pretty sure there's a story that people were like, "Oh my god, that guy is so slothful."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I do like how, even if it's maybe not something that motivates every aspect of their personality, I like how they kind of try to weave in little bits and pieces of it. Like you say, with the pillow, also just, I don't know, there seemed this sort of indecision that he had, when he first showed up there in the grave area, and he's like, I don't know if I want to help you. I don't know if I want to fight you. And slothfulness is kind of a sort of indecision too, just anything that stops you from gaining momentum and moving forward. So I took it to be that, but I think my favorite thing about King is that being a little fairy guy, like literally a fairy, he thinks that when he gets serious, it's important for him to put on a game face of this rather large, a little bit overweight, and generally creepy looking when it comes to the way that anime characters are drawn.
Right.
Like he has the creepy characteristics to his face, and he's flying around. We see a flashback where he's like flying around as this creepy, overweight, not quite middle-aged man, delivering stuffed animals to little children, and he's got this sincere look of genuine joy, and he's so pleased with himself.
Let's not forget, he does it in the middle of the night while they're sleeping.
Yes.
So he breaks into these people's houses to go return stuffed animals to children.
And he's just flying through the town, so proud of himself for doing that. And I don't know, I just love this, having this character that is a child, but he thinks he has to put on this really creepy face when he needs to get serious. It's just really funny.
That's interesting you saw it that way. So let's talk about King. Let's actually review him. But I actually get frustrated with that because my understanding is that he held that form the entire original time the Seven Deadly Sins were together. And then now he's back into his true form. But then, like, when he gets emotional, accidentally slips into the big form. I never quite understood the logic between going to the big form.
There's a point where they state that it's his game face. When he gets serious, he switches to the big form. Or when when he wants you to look at him and be impressed, he also switches to the big form.
But he mentioned how stressful and energy consuming that form was. Which we find out he rivals Meliodas as far as power. Like, he's extremely strong.
He can. He has a major weakness, right? Is that he has no physical power. He has, he's probably the most magical powered of
right.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically their caster.
Well, as long as he's got his sacred weapon. If he doesn't have it, kind of sucks. But
I don't know if he's the caster because there's a poster for someone named Merlin.
That's a good point.
I'm like, I feel like that's going to be a caster.
That's
actually, it's pretty funny because he asks them at one point. He's like, "All right, so where's your sacred items?" And they're like, "Yeah, about those." And he's so disappointed.
Yep.
Okay, so thumbs up for King, thumbs down.
Oh yeah, thumbs up. I like him.
I'm in the middle of the road. I like that he's part of Bond's story as far as with his sister. It's just another anime trope of I don't have enough information, so I hate you. And that always bugs me about some storytelling.
I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
I just like how King is interconnected with the other characters.
I do too.
But I also have to mostly pass on this one because backstory's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because like, where was he for 700 years?
That's important. And the character he's fighting at the end and how that all ties together, all that's coming down the road. And
yeah, he even makes a comment where he's like, "How can you still be alive?" or something like that. So I thought, ooh, I don't want to stop at 12.
So so pass for me. So I'll go through this. He attacks Bond. Bond is like, "That's not King. King wouldn't be stabbing me." King's also not a child. And Meliodas is like, "No, that's totally King, dude. He's stabbing you right now."
Actually, the first one to recognize him was Diane. Meliodas didn't recognize him at first either.
And it should be noted that King has a huge crush on Diane. Like she is everything to him. Much like it's a nice little. We all love someone over there, and they love someone over there, and they love
Because Night all over again.
These nothing is quite his Niagara all over again. Okay, so I had to mention these kids because these kids tell him how to get to the Necropolis, and it ends up being Bond and his memories of Elaine that get him there. They go there and fight, and he reconnects with Elaine's spirit and tells her, like, "I haven't forgotten the promise. I'm still going to get you. I'm going to steal you away." That hasn't stopped. He says it in a very Bond/Wolverine way.
Take what's mine.
It also really hurts King to see his sister that he lost appearing to the guy he thought was the big enemy that killed her. And she's like, "Yeah, King, thanks for not showing up when I died."
Yeah.
Or for hundreds of years.
Yeah, she's a little upset with her brother. But at the same time, a holy knight named Gila shows up. And she starts wiping the floor with Meliodas and Diane. And then even Bond goes back after being saved from being turned into stone by Elaine. He goes back and he gets, like, she's handling all three of them.
So,
and it's only
can we back up just a second? I love because she gets there and she's like, "How do I get in the Necropolis?" And she like threatens these kids. They give her the same information. She's like,
they act like she's going to kill the kids, and I was like, no,
right?
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, I see. I have to nearly murder myself," and just sticks her gauntlet like into her heart.
Yep.
So anyway, King actually ends up beating her. He's much more powerful with her because he has this floating staff that he can change that into any shape, any form. As like hundreds of different forms to use.
That's my favorite.
And I like the hundreds of daggers. Like, oh, I can beat that with hundreds of things. Oh boy. And she uses like fire explosions. And then when she finally goes to get King, Meliodas comes in with the full counter back at her and blast her back to life.
I love that. I was like, nothing makes sense. This is great.
And then they have to return. Like the Necropolis realizes you're not dead. You have to leave. And the two children are there. And that means the two children were dead the whole time.
They were the ghosts. Yeah.
I didn't like that twist, but
I saw it coming a mile away.
I thought it was weird because they ate.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's Sixth Sense all over again.
Except it's the kids this time.
Also, why did the sister collapse? Like nothing really makes sense if you really think about everything those kids did.
Yeah,
that they were dead the whole time.
Yeah.
So this is where they find out about what happened to your magical treasures, and they're like, oh yeah, we lost mine, sold mine. What did Bonds?
Stole it, lost it, sold it, stole it. Bonds doesn't make sense because he says stole it, is what he says in the sub.
That is what he says. Also, King's name is actually Harlequin, the king of the fairies.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what else did we learn? Because there's a bunch of exposition dumped on us. We do learn that the Holy Knights have this new group called the New Generation, and they're basically apprentices that have become super powerful overnight, and no one knows what's going on. We meet Dreyfus, the leader of the Holy Knights, and his second in command, Hendrickson, and we kind of get the sense that they're forming into two factions. Gilthunder and Hauser make an appearance. This is the first time we see Hauser. This is where we learn the New Generation. They're drinking the blood of the demon that Bond killed, and you have like a chance of exploding because
confirmed.
Twiggy's there. And he's like, oh, I now have the power to grow. And he goes all Akira and just explodes everywhere. And then Jericho, the other apprentice that was brought there, gets super powered. And that
she immediately vomits blood and falls to the ground, but then she recovers.
And this I like because Jeremy, you actually called out, wow, that lady was super overpowered. And I'm like,
that bugged me, yeah.
Well, I noticed when Jericho stood up, her eyes turned the same color as when Meliodas lost control over someone trying to take his
I was thinking
sword.
The same thing.
I was like, wait, does that mean Meliodas has a demon? Did he drink human blood inside him?
There's another thing for your theory, too, is that at the very end, when Meliodas takes that form, Bond says, wait, this smells just like...
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I did kind of think it was funny too because when she vomited blood and everything, and just the idea that they were drinking the blood of the demon, I was like, Grey Warden, Dragon Age.
Right?
Yes.
Right?
Again, almost everything about this anime is a trope. Like they took like all the tropes, mixed it together, and baked us a cake.
Yeah.
Right? That's what this anime is.
It was great. Yeah.
It's a good cake. But I know all these ingredients. I like eggs, I like flour.
Demon blood. There we go.
So they decide to get back their sacred treasures because that is why they aren't full powered. Because
I loved King's explanation that yes, they are super powerful, but they need a conduit to summon massive amounts of magical energy in order to be even more powerful.
So the first one they're going to get is Diane's hammer named
Gideon, right?
Gideon, I believe.
Yes.
This is taking place in a village that's having a fighting tournament for it, which is a trap.
Which is also a trope.
Right. Yeah.
There's a trope.
First, there's a fighting tournament. There's a trap. Diane and Elizabeth have to stay behind, and they find, while foraging for food, find a giant mushroom monster.
Oh God, I love this.
That sprays them with powder. This ends up shrinking them both, and they actually secretly enter into the fighting tournament. We'll find this out for like 2 episodes. Diane wears Elizabeth's clothes, and like also a hood, and then she puts Elizabeth between her breasts. Not a place to be in a fighting tournament.
Yes. Like, okay. That's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, when we first see them all gathered around the fighting tournament and they're trying to figure out who's going to be in it and whatnot, and we see this girl and she's got a hat on and she's got a cape on and she's trying so hard to conceal her identity and everything. And then eventually we find out it's wearing the same thing that Elizabeth was wearing. I was like, oh man, is one of her sisters showed up? What's going on? This is so strange. She's even got the earring. It must be one of her sisters. But why would her sister be dressed in the clothes that Meliodas gave her for bartending? This isn't making sense. Yeah. I did not put it together with the purple eyes and everything. So it didn't click for me.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that she had the one stocking on and not the stocking under the cloak, and she had brown hair, I was like, is that Diane?
It never clicked that it was Diane for me.
For the record, putting on the earring is weird.
Yeah,
that was weird.
Like she did everything.
Like, oh, I'm so indecent. Hold on, let me put your earring on.
Yeah.
You could just put that somewhere else.
Exactly.
In your pocket.
She doesn't have a pocket. The only pocket she has is in her bosom.
Yeah, I guess that's why she carried her there.
Yeah, but like the fact that I didn't realize it was Diane, and so I was riding on the, oh my God, it's Diane shock. And then they're like, hey, where's Elizabeth? And she's like, oh, she's in here. And you just see like this naked Elizabeth like peering out from between her cleavage. I was still getting past the shock of it being Diane. So that just hit me like a multi-ton truck or something. I mean, it was just like, whoa. I was laughing so hard. And that joke just kept going and going and going. It was great.
Okay.
Favorite part. So good.
So the fighting tournament starts as an elimination round where like everyone's trying to throw each other out of the ring, and the 8 that come out of it are Bond, Meliodas, King, who was talked into joining even though he doesn't want to.
And also, I love, good job for cheating.
Yeah, because he fell out but landed on his magic weapon, which is usually, I like that it's a pillow 90% of the time.
Yep.
If I had a weapon and they could do that, same. Diane. Then we also have Hauser, he's the Holy Knight who can make tornadoes.
Mm-hmm.
A Holy Knight that protects Elizabeth's sister named
Veronica. Is that what it is?
Veronica's guard, whose name is Grimor, Grimor, something like that.
Something like that.
He makes bubble shields.
He's Zarya.
An old man,
yeah,
and then some random strong dude from every Dragon Ball Z fighting tournament who thinks he has a chance, and then he loses.
Because he's won the last 3 years.
Right. Every fighting tournament has to have that guy show up.
It's Bald Hercule.
Yes, thank you.
Basically Nappa.
Yes.
Diane faces Bubble Shield guy and wins because of her super strength. Because even though she's now human-sized, her power has not decreased at all.
She literally breaks his unbreakable shell.
Right. Hauser beats the Hercule guy easily, so we get to see his power set. King loses to the old man because he's not allowed to bring his weapon. And this had a great setup for the joke, though, because Meliodas is like, I've only seen him ever fight without his weapon one time. And everyone's like, oh my God, what's it like? It's awful.
It's horrible.
That was the bad payoff.
That was.
Basically trips himself out of the tournament.
Yep.
So that happens. Then Bond versus Meliodas is next. And this is where Gowser finds out, wait, the 7 deadly sins are here, because he kind of suspected it and was like, nah, you guys have different names. Your name is Bond. What is your name? Bond. And your name is Meliodas or something like that.
Meliodafu. Meliodafu.
That's different in the English.
An old fart.
Well, it starts as old fart. It's awesome. It starts as Meliodas instead of das. But then later they start calling him Meliodafu, which to me sounds like waifu, so it's like really funny. But oh god, this fight, I actually love what they did with this tournament arc. Absolutely love it. All the fights do something weird. It was really good.
So Bond and Meliodas fight, it actually breaks up the episode here to kind of for the dramatic tension, and their fights are really cool because they beat the hell out of each other. I love the start of it. Hey, remember the last time we had a really big fight? I don't remember. You're about to smash.
I remember.
You feel like that.
And I love that they're on a particular mission and they know that they're always on a constant like threat of possible danger. But even though they just go all out and literally crack the entire mountain.
Yep.
It's like the Seven Deadly Sins just are so powerful they can't bring themselves to fully care about what they're doing at any point.
Yes.
There's just too much fun to be had, and that's almost always the secondary mission.
I love how people are like, he just killed him. He's got to be dead.
Bond actually starts winning. Meliodas overpowers him, but every time he hits Bond absorbs his strength. Until Meliodas is so weak, he just falls to the ground. So Bond powers up this super punch. He's like, this is all my strength and your strength, and it's going to hit you. You're probably going to die.
Which is interesting. You got to tell me what this felt like.
It's interesting that for their fun, they're willing to kill each other. Yeah. That's just what happens.
That's awesome.
That's an odd thing. It's always kind of struck me as odd. It just kind of plays in this thing that they're not really like heroes. Like, they'll kill a friend, for a good time.
And Meliodas is just like, he is not afraid to go all out on Bond because he's like, he knows he will never permanently hurt him.
Right.
Like, except for that one time.
Yeah.
So Bond comes down with this super punch, and when the dust clears, Meliodas is standing.
So if you watch that scene really carefully, you will see Bond fly.
Yes, yes, you do.
Like, the explosion happens really fast, but like 3 frames, you see Bond just woo.
Yep. Yeah, and he's in a cliff face.
Mm-hmm.
With holes.
And yes, when he hits him in like the hole in his eye, the holes throughout his body. Again, one of those things that's like, oh, this is fun, this is light. Oh my gosh, he just eviscerated that man.
Yes.
And Meliodas is fully healed. He has all his strength back. He's like, I feel great, guys. And Dan's like, I saw that mark thing happen again. Because that's what happened is he took that
near fatal blow, I guess.
Mm-hmm. It seemed like a reset button press. Like he was killed, but he has this, when you kill me, I access a power I don't normally access, which, boom. Like his counter that he does with the sword, but with his body instead is almost what it seems like. Because it even shows like where it goes back to where Bond punches him and delivers the blow. And Meliodas literally reaches up, grabs his hand, and like crushes his wrist to nothing to throw him.
Right.
And like all that happens in a split second. So it's like he has this weird power reservoir, which I think we leave on 12 with it just starting to explain a little bit about it, maybe.
We're going to see it in full
rage.
Whatever it is, you're going to see the whole thing.
Wrath mode. I look forward to that.
That is where we leave off in 2 episodes. Gowser and Diane fight next, and he's super excited because he gets to fight a 7 deadly sin. She beats him because she can turn to metal. And that doesn't fly as well in a tornado.
Which I didn't know that.
But he gets to blow off most her clothes, so yay for us service people.
I did like how the fight started out with him basically doing just wind hits because he didn't want to actually land a punch on her because he's like, he knows how powerful she is because she broke the shield. And he's like, I still just can't bring myself to hit you because you're female.
The best thing is when he's talking trash to her. And Meliodas is like, that was awesome. And he's like, no, that wasn't dirty. What are you talking about? I mean literally. That was awesome.
That was great.
Yeah, I really like Hauser.
The old man and Meliodas go next. The old man turns out to be from the kingdom he destroyed.
Meliodas destroyed. Mm-hmm.
Per the legend. And he's like, how could you destroy the village? And Meliodas is just taking his attacks. And he's like, I didn't. And then the old man's like, "Oh, I'm so happy to hear you say that."
No. It's a little more nuanced than that if you listen
It
to
is,
the
but we're
dialogue.
going fast. Go ahead.
But
flesh it
it's
out.
important. It's important because he asked him specifically, "Were you a traitor? Did you betray us?" And he said no. So there's a possibility that the rat thing
still
blew
destroyed
up
it.
the
Because he's like,
civilization.
I tried to protect you and I couldn't protect you, but that doesn't mean he wasn't trying to protect them from himself and failed.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that seems a little more nuanced than that, but I do think Meliodas did not mean or intend to destroy an entire civilization.
Which it also really shows that Meliodas has always had this kind of character where, or at least when this old man knew him, he knew him as someone that he would never think he would do something like what happened. And so all it took was Meliodas confirming it, and he didn't need anyone else to tell him, or he didn't need any more evidence than that, because he trusted Meliodas, which tells us that in the past Meliodas has been a good person. That was
Sorry,
cool.
I didn't mean to derail it. I just felt that was
No.
important detail.
That was good. The old man forfeits, and so then it's Diane and Meliodas, and they're like, "Hey, that means we win. We're gonna get the hammer. Let's just go light on this one." Bond's not about that.
Oh, God, this was awesome.
Bond pays a bunch of skimpily dressed women to flirt with Meliodas as if he had been with them. And Diane's actually kind of already having a rough time because she's human sized, and Meliodas won't flirt with her still. And she thought, oh God, it isn't the size thing. He just doesn't like me, and she's trying not to deal with that. So she sees this and she just goes all out attacking him, and they just start fighting. But we don't get to see really where this fight goes because they have to stop. And it's awesome how they just stop and like stare off in the distance, and the other seven deadly sins like walk up to them staring off in the distance because the Holy Knights are coming, specifically
the new generation.
Jericho and Gila, and they're
the Moroccan guy.
The Moroccan guy. Yeah, I don't think we know his name yet.
No.
I love this. This felt very Trigun to me. We're the seven deadly sins. We're here to destroy your village. You have 1 minute to get out.
Yes. That was really cool.
Literally, Vash has done that. Like, I'm the Red Typhoon, and I'm here to kill everybody. You better leave.
Yep.
And then 10 seconds later, fireballs start raining down from the sky on this village.
They had more time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because these Holy Knights are going all out. A lot happens in this episode. Like, there's little mini battles here, there. Bond, they get separated really fast. Like, Bond's just walking through the village. Like, oh man, things are crazy right now. And then he gets stabbed by Jericho. Jericho faces him, and he's like, "Do I know you?"
And she's all in like a clearly girl's armor now instead of guy's armor. Yeah.
He puts lipstick on right in front of him. Like, yeah.
Well, it's his blood.
Oh, that's right. That is right.
What I found interesting, though, is that she slashed him up, and he's like, wow, I'm not healing.
Yes.
He does, yeah.
But we also were told that they brought sacred weapons with them, sacred items. I'm wondering if that weapon is a sacred item. That's why it did that. What I think.
Meliodas loses immediately to Gila. She manages to take him out. And then King takes them both out, the two girls, like immediately because he has his weapon.
I was expecting it to be a drawn out thing. All of a sudden, they're just down on the ground. I was like, wow, King is powerful.
Yeah.
And then some piggy trot. Hawk carries the two sins that are down away. Elizabeth grows back to full size nude. And her sister, who's been running around these past couple episodes looking for her in this tournament because they know the seven deadly sins were coming and that she's with them. Her sister is Veronica.
I love the conversation right before they round the corner. They're like, oh, they're probably exploiting her somehow. And now she's just standing there
naked.
Over Meliodas' unconscious form.
She starts yelling at Elizabeth, like, how could you run away from home? And you're with the seven deadly sins. It's so bad. We're taking you home. And Meliodas wakes up and is like, nope, I promised. I'm taking her on this quest. We're doing this quest. You can't take her. And she pulls out this magic stone that will suck up evil things that she got from Hendrickson.
which of course makes me doubt what he describes.
Right.
But it still works the way he described it.
And it sucks up Meliodas, so he's out of the picture.
It's like a soul gem.
Yeah,
Elizabeth
takes the body too.
King gets confronted by Lovehelm, who was the weird looking
that was great
of the fighting.
That was great.
And it turns out he's actually a bad guy. He's one of the Holy Knights, and he's the one King knows. His real name is Helbram, and he just decimates King. King manages to get his helmet off, but he manages to cut into King, and he's obviously quite powerful, and they know each other quite well. And then the two girls, they go and they're trying to capture Elizabeth for the new generation. They have their own agenda, even though Veronica's like, no, I'll take her home. It's fine, guys. And they're like, no, we'll probably just kill you too. And Elizabeth, who's upset, runs away. Veronica chases after her. They both get caught in an explosion that Veronica takes full bore, and she dies. And then her bodyguard gets blasted away. And the last scene we see is Meliodas breaking out of this gem, now covered completely. I'm not completely, but he's got the markings now on his body, his face, his arms. And that's where we end. Terrible place to end. This was definitely not the end of it. I actually think the next episode ends this arc, but I didn't want to do 13 and 11.
Yeah.
So this is where we ended. We will be doing part 2. Guys, thoughts on this final episode and these little mini battles and where we're leaving it?
My favorite was the confrontation with Hauser and Diane. Because it wasn't much of a confrontation, and he starts to doubt how evil these 7 deadly sins are. Because he not only had a great fight with her hand to hand.
That's right. I skipped over that one with Diane, where she saved the civilian.
But yeah, it's like, here comes this other holy knight to
Maraca dancer to death.
Yeah, and her first concern was not, hey, I need to defend myself, or I'm taking you down, but hey, Hauser, take care of this old dude. And that completely changed. And I'm really excited to find out how that changes his dynamic for the Holy Knights as an organization against the new generation.
Now, as a person, I ship King and Diane, but if Hauser and Diane happened, which I think Hauser wouldn't mind, I can
he wouldn't. I want to watch more. I want to know what happens next.
Good news is, as of in a few minutes, you can.
Yes.
Okay, so let's go to our final reviews for this half of the anime. Jeremy, you picked it. Go ahead.
So I loved it. I thought it was great. The humor's on point. The action's really good. It's entertaining. Some of the story stuff at the beginning, and there's a few other little beats, like with Mead, the boy. Not great, but a lot of the other story beats where they deal with things that are tropey, like battle tournaments and stuff, and the way the different characters are interacting. I've been surprised enough by some of the choices that the writers have made, and I think that overwhelms any of the negative things that I have to say for the story. So for me, this is a solid 4.
Okay. Jason, how about you?
For me, it's a 3. I had fun watching it. The story just did not grab me. And also the characters were really tough to connect with. Near the end, those things start to fade, but we ended on a weird cliffhanger, a really frustrating one at that. So I actually look forward to the next season and hope to change my mind as far as my score. But at this moment, I wouldn't have watched past 3 if it wasn't assigned. So definitely a 3 for me.
Okay. I'm not going to say too much about my whys and stuff. I'm going to save that because I know so much about what's coming. I will say, though, when I was rewatching these 12 episodes, even though I already know what's coming, I was still very entertained throughout it. So I'm going to give it a 4. But I'm going to save a lot of my reasons for later. Pass. So that will take us to our next, what we're watching next, which is, again, the next 12 episodes. There is a 4-episode mini arc after those 12. I don't know if you guys want to watch that or not. I definitely won't make it. We won't go into any spoilers about it, but if they see it, we may talk a little bit about it and what they show. There's definitely one episode that has a really good character moment that I would like to talk about and bring up if these guys watch it or not. But the assignment is the next 12 episodes.
Unless the comments explode.
We'll see. And if you would like to comment on what we've seen so far, please no spoilers for these guys for what's coming, but you can reach us on our Twitter at Baka Podcast or email the animebakaclub@gmail.com or leave a comment wherever you found this podcast. YouTube has been a great place for talking about it. Thank you again for everyone who has been commenting. You guys are definitely the stars of Baka Baka Baka, even though you do not fit the name. I do want to make a quick special announcement. We are coming up to our 100th podcast. It is this is episode 50, and then we're doing episode 50.5 of our minisode. But that means we have recorded and put out 100 podcasts. We are going to do a quick, awesome celebration minisode next week, and we are going to do a trivia game where these guys have to answer questions about the anime that we have watched for the past 100 podcasts. I'm super excited to go over it. It's going to be really fun. And you guys can play along if you've been watching the animes with us. You can answer the questions too. It's going to be so fun. Of that, let's say goodbye, and we'll see you next week, I hope.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
We'll see you next week.
Sayonara.